Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Nashoba Valley Technical High School. My name is Denise Pigeon, and I'm proud to be serving as the superintendent of this fantastic school district. Thank you for coming out in the bitter cold this morning. I think it's a wonderful day for a hot breakfast. So just to let you know a little bit about how our program will work, we are going to do breakfast first so that you'll have a hot breakfast. And then we will have some presentations for you regarding the FY20 budget and about student life here at Nashoba Tech. But before we break into breakfast, I do want to introduce to you the chairman of our school committee, Mr. Charlie Ellis, for welcoming remarks.
Good morning. I was asked to keep this fairly quick and succinct, so I'll try and do that. On behalf of the students, staff and the administration team and the school committee, welcome. I thought I'd give a few highlights of the school committee. Working with the administrative team, recently the school committee contracted with an architectural firm to do a total build-out assessment of our grounds and building. We've also been very fortunate, with the help and support of Dr. Pigeon, to partner with the town of Westford on a building and ground security overview. There's two programs that, these two programs are going to help us formulate a capital program for the next 10 to 15 years, which is going to be proactive, which is exactly what you want your school committee to be doing, proactive in keeping the campus safe and the building well maintained. We're also taping 3 meetings this year, the treasurer's report and our auditor's report. This meeting this morning and the presentation on the budget this year, the public presentation on the budget and the vote on the budget by the school committee. The first meeting will go live hopefully this coming week. We invested in Board Docs, which is a new software tool. It's going to help us collate our minutes. It's going to help us store our minutes for archival. We're going to post all our meetings, and it allows anyone in this room to log onto our webpage and actually in real time see us have a agenda, the motion, who seconded it, and the vote, which is helping us become a little more transparent. We realize it's kind of tough to come all the way in from Townsend and Groton on a cold morning to go to, or a cold evening for a meeting. This has saved an incredible amount of our staff time, and it's really helping us keep ourselves out of trouble with the AG and everybody else, so it's a worthwhile investment. I would suggest anyone to look into it. The big news is in 3 years, Nashoba Valley Technical High School is turning 50, believe it or not. We've grown from 4 towns to 8 over those years. Approximately 6,000 graduates and postgraduates have gone through these doors. The greatest thing about this is that over 50 years ago, a committee was formed to look at what the towns needed for education. And out of that committee came this school. This school, over the last 50 years, has graduated students who are highly qualified, rigorous academics. A lot of our students actually settle back into our ascending towns. They become taxpayers. They're the people you see on the streets of your town, which is phenomenal because most students move away. Our students tend to come home. This little factor helps establish economic growth and stability in our towns. The other thing that our school does is we provide a second public high school that has access for your students and children. That's incredible for a town of Littleton to be able to say, we have 2 high schools. That's where I'm from. The other thing I'd like to say is that 50 years ago, I graduated from here. I saw some heads come up, that's right, 50 years ago. I'm going to tell you that the instructors at that time gave me a boot in my backside when I needed it. They were craftsmen. They shared their knowledge with me. The academics were rigorous. The academic team here taught me how important knowledge is to have in my toolbox to be successful. I want to say thank you, because that gift that was given to me, which we still give today to our students, is what it has allowed me to be prosperous. I own 2 businesses. I can be a member of the school committee. I live in Littleton. I pay my taxes. I'm a viable entity in that town. And that's what we do best here. Welcome, enjoy your breakfast, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the program. Thank you very much.
So what we will do is have one row come up at a time, and then once everyone is settled and enjoying their breakfast, we will start the formal presentations of the program to not take up too much of your time today. So if we could start with the row in the back. I hope everyone is enjoying their breakfast. Please, if you would like to have seconds, I would head on up there. The students are going to start cleaning up shortly. And before we move on with our program, while we have all of the students here from Culinary Arts and Hospitality, I wanted to give them a big round of applause for breakfast. And I also wanted to bring your attention to the students that are located around the room who are still working. This is a classroom experience for these students, and they are from our TV media program, and they are filming today, so thank you. Again, my name is Denise Pigeon, and I'm the superintendent. We're going to go around the room and do brief introductions and have everyone take a moment to introduce yourself, what town you're representing today, and if you have a brief story or a fun fact about Nashoba Tech that you want to share that talks about how you're connected to the school, we'd love to hear it. We don't expect everyone to do that, but if you have something you'd like to share, something as special as, for example, Charlie sharing with us, our chairman, that he is a graduate. So thank you. We'll start here.
I'm Mike Morgan. I'm the alternate member for the Pebble School Committee here. I'm also on the North Middlesex School Committee. I'd say a lot more, but I've got a really bad cold. I'm going to start coughing, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
I'm the Director of Post-Secondary and Community Education. I formerly served in many roles in the guidance department here, starting back in 2004, and I am back and happy to be here.
I am Matt McCarthy, principal, and I'll save the rest of my stuff when I talk in a few minutes. I had some good stuff for you.
Good morning, I'm Jean Board of Business Manager at MSBA. I am Joanna. I am Dr. Pigeon's executive assistant, and you have all RSVP'd to me, so you can avoid it. Are you good? Let's take it.
Hi, I'm Andrew McLean. I'm the town administrator at Pepperell.
John Hyatt, member of the Finance Committee in Pepperell.
Mark Passapoli, I'm a member of the Finance Committee in Pepperell, and actually my son will be graduated as a senior at the Tech in engineering part of the school with me.
I'm in the school committee, Pepperell. Had 3 sons graduated here. One's a patent lawyer, one's a police officer, career Army, and the other son calling as I'm doing myself, and your grandson coming here pretty darn quick. Thank you very much for letting me work for you. Thank you.
I'm the Director of Vocational Vocational and also Facilities. Thank you very much. You have to tell you that standing here, I was an old trade school graduate from the old trade, and I've seen the transition from the old vocational schools to what they used to be and where we are today. And it's absolutely phenomenal, and I just want to thank all of you for what you do for us. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Andrea Fontaine. My son, I'm the air alternate. My son is a junior here in the engineering department. Thank you.
I'm Mark Smith, I'm on the Air Finance Committee. Morning, I'm Chris Braille, I'm the Air Representative of the School Committee. My son's a sophomore here. He's the tall kid that's been going around serving everybody this morning. Can't say enough good things about Nashoba Tech. If you've never been here, please take the opportunity to come and visit. We'd love to have you come here. Great things happen here every day. Thank you.
Robert Pompery, I'm the Air Town Manager. Thank you for a wonderful breakfast again. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Good morning, my name is Mike McGovern. I'm the Shirley Town Administrator. I've been here for about 7 months. Prior to that, I was at the City of Lowell, and prior to that, I was at Greater Lowell Tech. And now I've seen the way that this school is the best tech school, not Greater Lowell Tech.
My name is John Akeek. I'm Chairman of the Finance Committee in Charlotte.
Good morning, Dan O'Donnell, I'm Westford Finance Director.
I'm Christina Green, I'm a member of the Finance Committee in Westford. Hi, I'm Jody Ross, I'm the Town Manager in Westford, and in my 11th year of working with the Tech and being in Westford, and I'd just like to say the Tech has done so much for our town. We have our annual holiday party here for our employees, which they put on a wonderful spread for our employees, and we have a great time. The Tech has also come out and done so many projects for our town hall. We have them on speed dial. This year we ran out of money on our dispatch center. We built a new dispatch center, and we had kind of dismantled the old one. Paul got the students out and they completely redid the room. It is beautiful, and we use it as another meeting room for our town. So, but they've always been there to help us with projects, and we're so happy that you're located here in Westford. So thank you.
Morning, everybody. Eric Heidemann, the Assistant Town Manager in Westford.
Elizabeth Almeida, Westford Board of Selectmen, and I'm also one of the founders of the Westford Community Garden. And as Jody said, we benefited from the students here at technical school that came out and built benches and chairs and some of our infrastructure at the community garden. Thank you.
I'm Beth Morrison. I'm a member of the Westford Finance Committee.
I'm Hari Bensa. I'm a member of the Sport Finance Committee.
My name is Jesse Byer. I'm on Westford Town Council.
Rob Flint, Groton, Mass. School Committee member. Thank you.
Colby Duty, Finance Committee member.
Jason Guilty, the Town Moderator.
Becky Fine, Groton, Select Board member. I am Patricia Dufresne. I'm the Town Accountant for the Town of Groton, and I'm a big fan of Nashoba Tech. My daughter Charlotte graduated here 2 years ago, and she's now in her second year of college, and I really credit the Tech with setting her up for success. So again, I'm a really big fan.
My name is John Geiger, and I'm a Select Board member in Groton. 10, 12 years ago, when I first started getting involved in town government, I think I worked with Paul, and we built a kiosk at the end of the road, right on the rail trail, and it was a really good experience. It just left a great impression with me. Thanks, Paul. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chuck DeCoste. I'm from Littleton. I'm on the Board of Selectmen there. Charlie Ellis has been a great resource to the town of Littleton, so I want to thank him, thank all of you for breakfast. But also, my son is a senior at Littleton High School, and retrospectively, probably should have been a member of the Tech, and he's going to be post-grad for plumbing next year.
Gary Wilson, Vice Chair, and Littleton FinCom.
Charlie Ellis, Town Representative.
I'm Joe Knox, Board of Selectmen, Littleton, friend of the chairman since childhood. And I want to mention 50 years ago, he went to Nashoba Tech High School in Littleton, and the transition in people's minds about how what vocational school is all about has changed so much. And it's a real credit to this school and other vocational tech schools, because back when I was a kid, you didn't go to schools like this. My parents said, no, don't do that. You have to go in a different direction. But now, this offers so much to kids, and the students here, you don't realize how lucky you are to be here.
I'm Bonnie Fleck. I'm the finance director at Littleton. These Patriots say count on you.
That's every day.
Your own disease, finance committee in Townsend. I have 3 children graduating from here. One's a teacher, one's a nurse, one has his own business. I have a grandson that graduated here also in the engineering program. He's in his 2nd year in college, and hopefully I have another granddaughter coming in fall. So, and the show will take you to school.
Sam Grant, Finance Committee, Townsend, and I'm hoping that I have a daughter graduating from here in, I think, 29. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Michael McCall, I'm the assistant town manager in Chelmsford. Back when they had summer shop here in high school, I attended here and I studied automotive during the summers. I have a nephew called Dan, he was right over there working this morning. He's attending here. And this summer I had Mike Robichaud in auto body repair one of my kids' cars here, who did an awesome job. And you should look into it if you're within one of the towns that's served by the school. They will do some of the work for you at a discount, and they do a great job.
Good morning, everyone. My name is John Souza, and I serve as the finance director for the town of Chelmsford.
I'm Paul Collins, town manager of the town of Chelmsford. Chelmsford receives a sewer from the Nashoba Tech, and we're proud to do so.
My sister who lives right next door to me, I think, had the last house built by the students from Nashoba, last residential home, and that she lives right next door to me, so I don't know what piece of the house goes up on the foundation. Thank you.
I'm Duane Ayer, I'm one of the reps from Chelmsford. I taught at a different regional vocational school for 30 years. Having that experience and this experience is better.
James Gosling, Finance Committee, Chelmsford. Stay warm.
Hi, I'm Michelle Donnelly, Director of Special Ed. Good morning, I'm Kylie Callahan. I'm the Coordinator of Guidance and Admissions here at the show.
I'm Eddie Landers, I'm a senior here.
I'm Amanda Bales, I'm from Townsend. I'm a senior here and a student representative on the school committee. I'm Gabrielle White, I am the Director of Curriculum and Grants here at the show.
Hi, I'm Dr. Heinrich. I started here as a teacher in 1993, and now I'm Director of Technology.
Thank you. It's always wonderful to go around the room and see the people that are here and understand the connections. We often go out and we meet with our individual towns, but what an amazing opportunity to bring all of our towns together for this breakfast so that you can all be together in one place to learn about and talk about the wonderful things that are happening every day here at Nashoba Tech. So without further ado, we'll get right into our presentation. And again, you did meet numerous members of our school committee. They are not all here with us this evening, but we do have a very good representation today. As you know, we do have a 14-member board and additional alternates as well. So they are all listed here. And a little bit more about our membership. It was wonderful. I don't even have to do these slides. I feel like some of the slides that I have already been done, except, Paul, I will admit, maybe I'll add in that Chelmsford slide next year. That was really good. That's a great story, by the way. And at the root of that story is partnership. And again, the partnership that grows out of folks coming together in this room is what's brought us to where we are today. So again, Nashoba, we do serve our 8 member district towns. A little bit about our history. And when we talk about budget, the very first thing that I think it's important to talk about is enrollment. It's actually one of the first questions out of most folks' mouths when you go to the Board of Selectmen or the Finance Committee. In fact, I've had the question already a couple of times today here in this room. So right out of the gate, I want to talk about enrollment. We have seen a slight decline in enrollment, but again, this is not unusual for what's happening around here. Many of our towns are experiencing a decline in enrollment. Ours is just a slight decline in enrollment. It has been slightly declining for the last couple of years. We see this as possibly numerous reasons. 2 of our regional high schools opened new high schools, and we saw dips in enrollment from those 2 towns when those new schools opened. Innovation Academy has also expanded their grade levels. We used to see students coming from Innovation Academy from 8th grade into 9th grade, and we've seen a little bit less of that, so that's another reason. But overall, if you look at the 10-year enrollment trend, we're really just leveling off. But I know this is a question that does come up. So the FY20 budget that we've built is built for an enrollment that has 17 less district students, 5 less in school choice, and we did see an increase in non-resident. So a few years ago, we had some conversations about how there were some towns that had removed themselves from a different vocational technical school district that were close to our proximity. And I know that someone in this room asked if we thought we were going to see more students from some of those towns. And now I can say the answer is yes. So it is increasing, and I would say we've also had some applications coming in from some of those towns from the current group that's applying now for next year. So we do anticipate that that will also continue to increase. In terms of the specific breakdown by town, this is that first question the town manager always asks me, well, what's the difference for my town? So I did want to put it up here so that you can see how it breaks out. So although we're down 17 students district enrollment, some towns have increases in enrollment and some towns have decreases in enrollment, and you can see how that plays itself out. Last year, Chelmsford was really proud to say there were 30% of our student population. You've dropped down 1%, so now at 29. So Chelmsford's still our largest town, Pepperell our second largest town, and you see the breakdown based on the student population this year. I think it's important to also talk about what makes Nashoba Tech unique in terms of our special populations. So if you look at the breakdown, we have seen an increase in first language, not English, and English language learners. Believe it or not, for quite some time, we were actually at 0 for many years, which also was not unusual for our area, but we are seeing a slight increase in that area, but still well below the state average. What is very unique on this slide is that we have students with disabilities at 38.4%. So we're close to 40% of our students here are special needs and on an IEP. And if you were to compare that to our district town high schools, they range in our actual 8 district towns from anywhere from 11% to 17%. So that's pretty significant to understand. So again, although we've had a slight decline in enrollment, we've had an increase in student need. This budget does reflect meeting the needs of all of those students. High needs were above the state average, and economically disadvantaged slightly below the state average. So again, these are all just numbers. When we talk about enrollment, we're not really talking about numbers, we're talking about kids. We're talking about students, and I wanted to take a few minutes to actually invite up Mr. Ricard, our high school principal, to talk to you a little bit more about what those numbers really mean and who these students really are.
Thank you, Dr. Pidgeon. And much like my chairman of the school committee said earlier, I also am a proud graduate. And we have photography back when I was here in 1995. Unlike 50 years ago, we took pictures back then. So that is my actual high school senior picture right there. As you can see, over the years, you gain some things. And you lose some things when it comes to hair. But I still think I'm pretty handsome. And this is the part my wife loves. I have spent 67% of my life at this school as a student, and I've been working here now for 18 years. Most of my life has been here. I care very much about vocational technical education, especially here at Nashoba Tech. I'm going to give you a quick little overview. Now, this is much like the schools that from your towns that our students can choose between. We offer AP classes, honors classes. We have a great thing, and I want to thank Gabby White, our Director of Curriculum, who has worked real hard to have this program with Middlesex for concurrent enrollment. So our students can literally take classes here with our instructors in our classrooms and get college credit for it. They can earn between 12 and 21 college credits during their time here. That's a wonderful opportunity without even leaving the building. As you see, we also have dual enrollment further down, which is when kids actually go to college. And we're on a trend now. We have kids graduating every year with their associate's degree as well as their high school diploma. And we also have inclusion classes and small group classes for our special populations. So here we go with what makes us a little different. I have a hard time sideways looking at this thing here. Excuse me a second. So technical world, what makes us different is what we offer in our technical programs. Our teachers are from the industry, they are professionally trained out there, And they go and get a certification with the state, a Chapter 74 license, and come teach our kids to become experts in those same fields. They earn industry credentials, so when they leave here, not only do they have a high school diploma, they also have a technical certificate and as many industry credentials that we can possibly get them. And some of our programs have quite a few. And I think you might hear from our students later on in the health department. They get a lot of opportunities to earn industry credentials in that area. We have articulation agreements, so our students in their technical programs can earn other college credits at these different universities and colleges. And we're driven by our advisory boards that help us keep our programs relevant and on cutting edge with what's out there in industry today. Those are very important boards, and there may be a few people in this room today that have been part of the advisory committee. I thank you, and I please, anyone in your business associations or in your towns that have businesses, please get them in touch with us because we can always use their input. This is a list of our programs that we do have here at Nashoba Tech. As you see, we have 20 technical programs that range in things from the traditional, what you think about for vocational education, technical education. You think about carpentry, plumbing, the hard trades. Then we have the biotechs. We have our vet clinics, I'm sure you've all heard about, is booming. We went and visited one last night at another school, and ours, we're different, but ours is fantastic. And we're doing things here that they're still a couple years away from doing. So we made it happen in a very short time. TV media, you see them working here today. Culinary, you see them working here today. We take these programs, we go out in the industry, we go out in the world, and we do things. Bridges next door, a great partner with us. As you see further on, I have other partners that we work with, but we have programs from carpentry to health to culinary to our early childhood program to our music classes, work with the people next door at Bridges, the residents there, and do things like nails and hair, and come here and read with our young kids at our early childhood center. It's just a wonderful partnership that we have with some of our area businesses. So we have cooperative placement. So we have many kids out in co-op right now. They're eligible as of their junior year, just around February vacation of their junior year. So we have one more week, and the juniors in the house. You're getting ready to get out there and co-op. Our numbers are going up every year. This provides our students with actual on-the-job training when they're also receiving a paycheck, not just training in those fields that they've studied for the last 2.5 years, but also a paycheck. It's a wonderful opportunity, and once again, at least one of our students that will be up here in a few minutes takes part in that program. These are a few of the partners that I could think of quick. There's a lot more partners that we work with at our school. But Angel, which has their clinic right here on site, a very valuable lab experience for our kids that see real life, and trust me, they see real life stuff. We have cameras in these areas, and I've seen some of these surgeries that go on that our kids are right there for. Some pretty crazy stuff they see. And this on a daily basis, not once in a while, whatever. They see us every day. We build houses with Habitat for Humanity. Our 3 construction clusters are out there constantly in Westford. We're lucky enough to be right here in town, where they have a few houses. I think there's a few more on the horizon. Jody Ross might know more about that than I do, but I think there's a few more Habitat houses on the horizon. Our kids are getting such an experience at Habitat, and that's plumbing, electrical, and carpentry. Bridges you heard about. We have a nice partnership with Emerson Hospital. We have a trainer from the hospital, comes here, works with our kids every day, like a full-time employee, works with our kids, teaches our kids. It's wonderful. And Lowell 5 has a branch right here in our building that our kids work at every day. They can visit every day if they're not part of the program, if they want to take out money, learn things like that. We have all what you think of when you think of extracurricular and clubs at our school. We have the clubs you belong to that's just to become part of something. The SAD, the ski club, things like that. We also have some competitive clubs like robotics, DECA, Skills USA, things that actually go out and compete. Culinary this year is actually competing in an event. I apologize, I forget the name of it, but I actually get to see the demo today. 8th period, I'll be down there, watching the demo, sampling some food, of course, what they're going to create at Patriots Place in Foxborough next month, or March, I believe. So, competitive clubs, social clubs, whatever it might be, anything to give our kids a little piece of the Nashoba Tech, some student life that makes it high school that much better. We have a robust athletic program. All 3 seasons we have sports. We have fantastic facilities that some of your districts actually were able to utilize this year because you were going through a renovation or something. We're very open to that. I know Westford used our field for football. It was great to be here at those games and meet some families from Westford. Same with North Middlesex this year. We're always willing to do that. People helped us out. Chelmsford helped us out when we had a problem with that gym just last winter. Thanksgiving hits. Everyone knows that's when hoop season starts. Damaged floor. Mr. Cohen and Chelmsford took care of us, let us practice at a facility they have. It was wonderful. So we like to give back. So keep that in mind. If you're going through a project, reach out to us. My athletic director, my admin team are always willing to help out. But our kids benefit from these wonderful facilities that we have in place for them. Now, the real part of the story. If my two students could start walking up here, please. First up, we have a senior from culinary, Mr. Eddie Landers. And I want Eddie Landers to talk about what made him choose Nashoba Tech and what he's gained by being here at Nashoba Tech.
All right. So I chose culinary and from Nashoba Tech because ever since I was a child, I've been going to mommy and me cooking classes with my mom. You know, ages were supposed to go from 3 to 7. I was 7 4 years in a row, casually. So I knew in 5th grade, when it was in 5th, 6th, 7 started to think about high school, I knew that Nashoba Tech was going to be the place for me in culinary arts because that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Oh, I have more questions.
More questions. All right.
So tell us a little bit about, first, your senior project. What are you doing for your senior project?
My senior project, I'm going to be researching spices and how different spices can enhance different food flavors and where they all come from and the history with the spice trade.
I look forward. I get to judge a lot of these senior projects, and I grew up in a household that, and no knock on anybody, but French Canadian, very bland food. My mother, great cook, very bland though. My wife, a lot of spices, changed my world. So I look forward to judging their presentation. Now, what future plans? What's your plan for next year, Eddie?
My plans for next year are to go to college, major in business management and minor in dance, and then after I graduate college, I want to travel the country, try dancing professionally, and open up my own studio or start my own convention.
Thank you, Eddie. And next up, from health assisting and a Townsend resident, Amanda Fales. Tell us a little bit about what made you choose Nashoba. Same questions as Eddie.
Hi, everyone. I chose to come to Nashoba for a lot of reasons. First off, being in Townsend, you go to elementary school, you go to middle school, and you'll go to high school with the same people that you've grown up with. I wanted to be exposed to a new environment. I wanted to be challenged. And I also knew that I had a passion for helping people, so I wanted to get a head start in the medical field. So that's why I decided to come here.
I did mention earlier that you do get some credentials in health. Can you think of any of those credentials that you received while you were here?
So in my first 3 years here, I got my first aid certification, CPR certification, dietary aid, certified nursing assistant, mandated reporter, paid feeder, and a nutritional assistant one too.
So what's your senior project topic?
So I'm a type 1 diabetic and I've been one since I was 4. So my senior project is more from a personal side where I'm going to be explaining the misconceptions between type 1 and type 2 diabetes, how it can affect someone's mental health, how it can affect their image, and then really just differentiating in like the causes and symptoms and things like that between the two.
And your future plans?
I'm most likely going to be going to UMass Lowell for their honors nursing program and then work in the either ICU or ER as a RN. So.
Fantastic. Thank you. So as the principal, I know Dr. Pidgeon will kind of back this up a little bit. It's to make a leap from assistant principal, wherever you were doing, to principal, you lose a lot of, for many years here, the kids were my whole life. So when I moved up to principal, I didn't really have a lot of as much kid involvement as I'd like. So last couple of years, you've had a couple of great kids. If you came last year, you started too. And that's where we have our opportunity. And they'll tell you, they come down once a month, we sit and they don't want to leave. We sit there, I have a nice couch in my office, and we sit and chat quite a bit. So it's a great part of my year, and I thank you guys for all your help with this stuff. Thank you. And good luck with everything else.
Thank you.
So that does round up mine. I do want to add, I know that Mr. Ellis mentioned the fact that he stayed in district, and he said that a lot of our graduates do, and he's right. I grew up in Pepperell. I live in Groton now, and we love Groton. I go around to all these businesses around there, shopping centers. I see kids everywhere I go. 18 years in one place, in one area, you see a lot of people. I've been in other countries and I've seen kids from the school. I've been on the top of mountains and I've seen kids from the school. It's just it's a great thing, and it is a community. A lot of people say vocational schools don't have that same camaraderie or community that a traditional high school does, and it's different. It's a little more unique, but it is there. So thank you for your time, and now I'm going to call up Ms. Kyla Callahan, who's our guidance and admissions coordinator.
Good morning, everyone. So I just want to speak very briefly in regards to now that we are all in this room and everybody is here voluntarily and has amazing things to say, and a little bit about my office and my role in getting that word out to the community in general. And one of the things that we've talked about, and I believe somebody from the Littleton table actually explained that the reputation of vocational schools has changed so much in the last 5, 10, 20 years. And I know Mr. Jay spoke, when he went to Lowell Trade, that was kind of what people had in their minds when they pictured a vocational school. For those of you who have been here or are here, as you can see, it's just not the case anymore. We have morphed into something completely different. We actually are managing the needs of the community with the needs of the skill set, with the students that come through. We have fantastic kids here. And even though I've been here for 10 years and I was at Minuteman before that, I still am floored every time I walk into a program and they're actually doing the thing that they're doing. Seeing kids building houses in carpentry or wiring and electrical or working on patients and health assisting, it still blows my mind every single time. So I do urge you, if you have the opportunity to come by and see what our kids do, it will do the same for you. So as part of my job as the coordinator of guidance and admissions, I am kind of the outreach person, myself and our guidance counselors. We visit every district middle school. I go out and those children sit and listen to me talk for about an hour. I try to be as dynamic as I possibly can, which is sometimes challenging. I tend to get them at 8 o'clock in the morning, so you can imagine how well that goes. But the kids are awesome. They ask fantastic questions, actually. We've gotten a lot of the questions about how are your sports teams. I get this all the time, and I want to make it very clear. The last couple times I've gotten, how much does it cost to go to Nashoba Tech, which is not even a question that I thought to process. And I say, well, how much does it cost to go to Chelmsford High? And that's apparently a trick question. So I explain that it doesn't cost anything, that we are a public school, you have access to us as a public school, and we are a great option for you. So I go out to every eighth grade group, I do a presentation to all the 8th grade students, and then we offer them the opportunity to come here and shadow our programs for a day. A couple years ago, we changed it up so that instead of kids coming and spending a couple hours in one program, they actually rotate through a cluster. So students will come through and see carpentry, electrical, and plumbing, or health assisting and biotechnology, or cosmetology and culinary. So they kind of get an idea of what they're looking at. It exposes students to more than one program, which is essentially what we want them to do when they come anyways, but also allows them to kind of see what our students are doing and really get the hands-on version. We can tell them all day long that it's different here, but until they come and see it for themselves, it really starts to sink in on those 8th grade visits. So our fall is very, very busy. We also do an after-school program twice a year. In October and in March, we do what we call the mini exploratory. It's from 3:30 to 5:30, and it is free for in-district students. So we actually bus the kids over from their middle schools, and they get to rotate through a different technical program each time that they're here. So again, another opportunity to not just hear about it, but to see the things that they'll actually be doing when they come here. So then that runs in October, and all of that leads up to our big open house in November. It's always the first Sunday, and it's fantastic. I mean, we've seen anywhere between, there was a year that we had, I think it was an ice storm, probably 5 years ago, where people were at the mall to shower because nobody had power. Our numbers for open house still didn't drop. We still saw about 600 people come through the building that day. So I think that speaks very well of interest and people's dedication to wanting to find out more about technical education. We'll have another open house in May. This is geared more towards, at that point, we will have had the majority of our freshman class accepted and processed for next year, but that's more geared towards transfer students because a lot of people don't know that we do actually take students through the beginning of their junior year. We have a lot of students that say, oh, I tried the high school and I'm thinking I did an internship or I know somebody who works in the field and I think I might want to gear towards this program. And we want to give them that opportunity. So we allow students to transfer right up through the beginning of junior year. We also have the postgrads. We gear that towards that's the postgraduate program for students after they've already earned a diploma or their GED. They can come back and get that technical aspect as well. So that's kind of the admissions piece. I think I covered everything. Our students do apply online. All of our high school students, we just morphed into that a couple of years ago, and it's been a great success. We've seen numbers increasing now that we're able to increase access to students. We know that not everybody has online, but I know the guidance counselors in your middle schools are sitting down with these kids and walking them through it step by step. So they've been incredibly supportive. And then we have rolling admissions. So I actually have students that are applying in the last week that are looking for transfers. So we'll continue to enroll students as the year goes on, as long as it's feasible and it works into their schedule. We'll continue to enroll students. What we would love to see from your towns in particular, currently Westford sends their entire 8th grade class, which is fantastic. Overall, over the course of 2 days, thank you for that. Over the course of 2 days, I think we hosted 500 students or something along those lines from Westford. We would love to see that from every town. We would love for every 8th grader in every district town to come through and get an opportunity to see what it is that we do here. They still have the choice as to whether or not to apply, but we want them to know what it is that we do. So I think that's it for me. Thank you very much.
So now you had a chance to meet our principal, the comedian. He's always making everyone laugh, and Kyler as well. I think it's important for, during this event, for you to not just see my face, but to also understand all the folks that work hard here every day. I think you see their passion. Everyone that works here at Nashoba Tech is passionate about what we do. I just need to reiterate something that Kyla brought up, and that again is, Westford has always historically sent every one of their 8th grade students to Nashoba Tech for a visit. And the philosophy has always been, how can a student say that it's something that they don't want to do if they've never seen it? And nothing speaks more true to that. A student doesn't know what they don't know. They might think they don't want to go there, but they've never even seen it. So we love that Westford has always done that. And the other piece that's very unique about Nashoba Tech, you will hear on the news, there are sometimes technical schools that are fighting with their sending towns and people are blocking access to students. I have to say, I'm very proud to share that all 8 towns allow access to their students. But if we could go with the Westford model and start introducing all students so that they all get a chance to see it, I think that's a wonderful thing for our students. So again, keep that in mind. We will be reaching out and having those conversations next year. Bringing it back up to a high level, you got to understand students from the day-to-day, but going back up to a high level, it's also important to look back at accountability and how we do regarding accountability at a global level. Our attendance rates annually are always above the state average. Our graduation rates are always above the state average. Students are engaged here and they follow it through. Our dropout rate incredibly low, well below state average, and 100% of our students meet Mass Core requirements. All things that we continue to be very proud of. We also, every year, conduct a follow-up study of our graduates. Well, you know, you said you were going to go to college, or we said you were going to go into the workforce, but what did you really do? And again, consistently, year after year after year, the results come back with incredibly high positive placement rates of our students. They really are going on and being successful in their chosen pathway. Sharing more good news, we know that vocational education is expensive. We're well aware of that. We work really hard to control that costs. We also think outside of the box and go after any type of competitive funding that we can. We have been so fortunate to receive 3 competitive workforce skills capital grants. This is unheard of. Over the course of several years, $1.5 million for our technical programs and technical equipment through Governor Baker's initiative. I can tell you that the infusion of equipment has been fantastic for our kids to be able to be working on equipment that really is state-of-the-art. We had fallen drastically behind, so this was a big help. And again, a lot of work, but work that was very worth it. We also, through the work of Dr. Heidenrich, received a state Wi-Fi grant for about $120,000, and we're able to redo the Wi-Fi in our school. So all costs that were not brought towards the towns. You heard about community service projects. I don't even think I need to give a plug here. I think you guys did a wonderful job on that. But here are a few photos of the students doing community service. We think it's important to give back. This is one way that we do give back, and we can save the towns some money. I always like to do a recap of our capital projects. You know, we've been making our way slowly around the building, renovating some of our programs. Our vet tech program, as you know, we did add Angel several years back through a partnership. And quickly that program has become one of our most popular, and we did have to expand in space. So much of this work was done, we had some students work, we did have to have some contractors come in and help as well, but we were able to pretty much double the space for the technical program and add a grooming facility, which will be open to the public and service the public, much like Auto Body does, and what you heard about being able to bring your car in. The grooming portion will be open to anyone from our 8 sending towns to come in. And that will help support the program as well through a revolving account for vet assisting. In terms of facilities assessment, our chairman did mention to you, we thought it was really important to undertake a study We've been working really hard to control costs with capital, but our building is old. You've heard numerous times how old it is. So in order to make sure that we were putting the money in the right places and what needed to be fixed first, we've been working for the past 6 months to pull together expert information on this. So we are in the final phase of a full facilities assessment, which will be finalized in the coming month. We are also in the preliminary process of doing a technology assessment. This is a free assessment process that Dr. Heidenrich was able to locate. And through a partnership with Westford, and again, thank you, Westford. This year, Westford invited me to the table on a committee. I was appointed to the Westford committee to talk about some really important topics, and that is the safety and mental health of our students in our community. I've been feel very blessed and fortunate to serve on that committee. An outcome of that is the town of Westford voted to go out for a feasibility study to look at all of their schools and the safety of all of those schools to see if there are some safety and security enhancements that we can do. Well, Nashoba Tech belongs to 8 towns, but we're housed here in Westford. Police and fire in Westford support this school. They invited us to the table, and through an alternate opportunity through the bid process, Nashoba Tech was able to participate in that project, and that's underway as we speak. So these reports will help guide what we'll spend our capital planning on moving forward in a systematic and structured way. Our capital in FY20 for the budget this year, we did level funded at $225,000, and we've set aside, we need to replace servers, they're long overdue. And we've set some funding aside for safety upgrades that we know will be a result of the assessment that's coming forward. And we have several floors that need replacing. We have tiles that are popping in classrooms and some of our technical areas. We show you beautiful pictures, but not every area of this building is as beautiful as all the pictures that we show. And now to just get into the budget itself. Carol, would you bring up the PDF slide? It's really hard to show a budget that represents all of Nashoba Tech on a slide, so my apologies. This is really small, but it's really more for my talking points. Bigger picture, we worked really hard to keep our costs at a place that we thought was sustainable. We did take into consideration our slight reduction in district students, and our overall budget increase for next year for total spending, over total spending, is a 2.5% increase. We had to work really hard to do this. There are some increases. There were some givens that we needed to do. Again, we've been talking for several years about wanting to add in a part-time position for social work or social emotional health. That is represented in this budget, so that is something new that's represented in this budget. We are also anticipating a retirement that's going to hurt here, I will tell you. So our business manager, Jean Savoy, will be retiring. That business office has actually been functioning on a skeleton crew for too long. And we are going to lose an incredible amount of experience when she does retire. So we're going to be bringing on an assistant business manager that's going to assist during that transition as we move forward. So there is an addition of a 0.5 assistant business manager in this budget. In order to make that happen and still be at 2.5%, we did have to cut positions. So this budget does reflect a reduction in staff of three positions. Other increases that there's not a lot we can do about: transportation. I know the regional schools, the other regional folks that are out there, it's a problem. So transportation in the governor's budget was level funded again, which means less money to the schools because it's the same pot of money, gets spread further and further. So the assessment for transportation is going up slightly. Insurance is an issue I know in towns as well as it is in schools. And pretty much that is the changes in our budget from last year to this year. Oops, Carol, can you go back to the PowerPoint? Thanks. So this slide is just the budget represented in a little bit different way. It's a little bit more broad category. But what I want to try to explain to you here is that we've seen a trend with our budget over the last couple of years, and this is something that we have to address. We're going to address it incrementally. And we're going to take steps to do this and work very closely with the towns through this process. But if you look at the very bottom of the slide, you see school choice fund expenses. So going back to FY18, in order to meet the budget that we had proposed, we had to put in $825,765 of school choice to balance that budget. Last year, we had to put in over $1.4 million to balance that budget. This is not sustainable. But it is the budget that we need in order to service the students that we have. So at this rate, if we continue, there will come a year where we will have to increase the assessments to the towns over $1 million. We don't want to do that. So what we're going to do is incrementally over the next few years increase the over minimum to decrease the school spending and level it off. Again, we're going to do this very, very carefully, very calculated. I've already spoken to the town managers about this, and everybody understands what's happening. But at the end of the day, we don't want to reach a point where suddenly our school choice funding is nothing, and we won't be able to create the budget that we need. How this looks for this year, this is the assessment breakdown, and Jean does have copies for the town managers and town administrators for today to bring home with you. It's still in a draft format. I know that the timeline here is a little different because this breakfast is actually being held prior to our public hearing on the budget, which is Tuesday night. So when I hand these out, or when Jean hands these out, they are draft until Tuesday night when our school committee does vote to finalize this. And then we will put all of our slides and all of our information online once it's finalized. But you see the breakdown overall here. In terms of the funding sources, again, this is just a breakdown of how the funding comes in. I do want to say that I think I was sort of starry-eyed and super excited when I watched the news and heard there was going to be $200 million added to education, and I said, this has got to be good, this has got to be good. And Jean and I waited anxiously, and we're online, and we're like, when are they going to give us our information? And Nashoba Tech's Chapter 70 aid, we saw a $19,000 increase. So unfortunately, Jean kept telling me, Denise, don't get too excited, and unfortunately she was right. But I have to say to you, yesterday I had an opportunity and I reached out, I called several town managers that I hadn't had a chance to connect with in the prior weeks, and I know I've talked to all of you in the last 3 weeks. This is a really important time in public education. It's a really important time. So the major changes to the formula right now, they are trying to implement some of the changes to state aid. There's still much more work to be done, and we can save some of this for discussion at the end. I do want to hear your thoughts on this, but we really need to start talking to our legislators about our concerns with the funding formula, and I can share with you how we're concerned from a technical school perspective, because there's some things in there that are very concerning. But anyway, so this is the breakdown of our aid, minimum contribution, where we receive all of our funding from to meet the budget. OPEB, every year we also give you a little update on OPEB and stabilization. For us, you know, at one point I remember standing before you when I first became superintendent saying, I think I have a 25-year plan, this is fantastic, we're gonna meet it. And then our liability went from 7 million to 13 million overnight, and I said, I don't have a 25-year plan anymore. But we still have a plan, and we're working on a plan. So we have an OPEB trust, and I'm so proud to share with you that our town manager from Chelmsford and next month our town manager from Pepperell will be appointed as well. Both serve on our OPEB trust. We know this is something we need to tackle, and we're going to continue to do that. This year's funding proposal, we are looking at funding at about $90,000. And we came to that number by thinking outside of the box and looking at other revenue sources, such as our Medicaid reimbursements and our earnings on interest, and that is the amount that we're putting forward for OPEB this year. In terms of stabilization, our goal for many years was to hit between 8 to 10% of our overall budget in stabilization. So if there's a catastrophic situation that happens here, we don't have to go to 8 town meetings to be able to fix something in the building to keep this place running. We're proud to share that we've hit that goal, so we will not be funding stabilization this year. And now I'm going to actually turn it over to Jean in a few minutes, and she's going to talk to you. So there'll be 2 warrant articles that we're requesting this year from Nashoba Tech. The first would be the budget as we usually do, but there will also be a second warrant article regarding a roof project, and I'm going to let Jean talk a little bit about this.
Good morning again to all of you. I will mention while Denise has the second warrant article before you, I'd like to tell you our number is going to decrease a bit. We still have another conversation we have to have with the Mass School Building Authority people, and to see exactly what that final number is going to be, and I will be getting that out to you in the next few days. So you'll have to change your article language to incorporate the new lower number. But back last February, we submitted a statement of interest to repair several sections of the roof that were actually from 1979. So it's going to be the section across the hall here, across the front of the building, and down the other hall, so the large U shape. And while we were doing that, they were going to have to take off all the rooftop units and put them back on. And one of our biggest expenses going forward that we've been looking at have been the rooftop units that needed to be replaced. and we're going to do one a year, which really wasn't going to work well because we'd have to go to bid, we'd have to get someone with prevailing wage in to do all of it for us. So this was our opportunity. So when we submitted our statement of interest, we requested that we include the rooftop units because we were told that they would have to install and reinstall them, demolish and reinstall them, so all we'd have to pay was the actual units. And that's one of the things we're going back and forth with, how much the MSBA is willing to cover of that for us. So the other things we're having in place are the cow wall windows. Those are all the windows above our garage doors. They look like the cement block kind of windows, and they have no R factor value at all, so we're replacing those. And those are the major portions of the thing. A few, one of the chimneys needs to be rebuilt. So if you go to the next slide, Carol. So as I said, I'd hate to leave that mic. So going across the front of the building and down the two wings. There you go, thanks. That's what we're having in place. And as you see, we have solar panels on most of those sections. The solar panels all have to come down. We own one group of panels and Nexamp owns the other group. And at this time, we may actually ask Nexamp to remove theirs and keep them down because they're looking very deteriorated according to the architects and the engineers who have been on our roof. So we're going to have that discussion with them. And let's see, what else is going on with that? So we voted at our special meeting to approve the schematic design presented by our engineering firm. And it was submitted to the MSBA, and I said, we're just tweaking it. We're going to go to their meeting on February 13th. It should be finalized at that point. And we're hoping to do it over the summer because the roofs are in such bad sections that I'm going to have Carol run the video so you can see what these roofs look like, a little short video we have for you. As you can see, the grayish portions of the roof, that's the deterioration. When you see the newer roofs, they're like a nice white color. See all the problems. That's probably where my leaks are, Paul. That's all our construction wing, is that correct? Yes. Yep. So that's the wing right across the hall here. And see the nice new roofs? See the big difference in the roofs? And as I said, we'll get that new dollar amount before you as soon as we can. Do I have one more slide? No. No, I'm good.
So again, I think for those of you who aren't familiar with the MSBA process, what's amazing about this is it is another opportunity for a grant. So we know these roofs have to be replaced. Every time we have driving rain, Paul and I are on the phone with each other, sometimes all hours of the night, very nervous about which classroom it might be raining in today. We've done really well with our roofs over the years because we've continued to submit for MSBA projects and we've systematically updated roofs. We did a big one a while back. In fact, the bonding for that will be done in another year, which is also why we've timed these sections of the roof as we have, because some of the debt will be coming offline before some new debt goes online. So we tried to time that. And then again, when these 3 sections of the roof are done, there'll only be 2 very small sections of the roof that will need to be replaced, and we'll be in good shape for quite some time. So that's the good news. And the even better news is that MSBA came back with the number of reimbursement rate. The overall reimbursement rate is 55% on this of reimbursable funds that we'll get from the state on this. So the warrant article itself can be very confusing to the general public. Every one of our 8 towns has to vote the full number of the project, and people look at it and get very nervous. But people need to understand we're a regional vocational school, so what happens is that debt is spread over time, and then that debt is broken out over the 8 towns. So I'll be looking to our town officials to help with spreading that message as we move forward. And as I said, the number that Jean had originally reached out to the town managers with has slightly decreased. There's bad news in that story too. The slight decrease, we did try to get the 2 boilers rolled into this project, but they're not quite old enough. They are compromised, they are an issue. Last year, I think I shared with you, we had several boiler woes in the middle of the winter. We had to rebuild one of them piece by piece, essentially. So it's something we're gonna have to address in our facilities group, and we're aware of it and we're on it. Next steps in our budget process. We are here today at the breakfast. On Tuesday night, the budget will go to public hearing. in our school committee conference room, and then followed by the school committee meeting where they will vote the budget and finalize the budget. And then our first town meeting, we're looking forward to it, will be out in Westford in early March for that. So again, we'll be requesting those 2 separate warrant articles if you have any questions about those. And then that's where we're at. I always like to circle back. How many of you, raise your hands if you were here last year? Okay. Do you remember these 2 fantastic students we saw last year that you met last year? I think it's important for us to circle back and let you know how they're doing. So a bit of our own little positive placement. So these 2 young ladies were incredibly fortunate when Governor Baker did come here to tour our facility after receiving our 2nd grant. The 2 young ladies served as his tour guide, and I know they love this picture. I still see it floating around there on their Twitter account. Zelly's doing very well. Zelly's applied to Mount Wachusett Community College, and she's also working in the industry. And Chantel is at Bentley College. Both of them have continued on the path that they plan to continue on. So I wanted to circle back and share that with you. And next year, I know I'll be circling back to share about Eddie and Amanda. And that concludes the formal presentation. I'd be glad to open it up to questions or comments. Jody?
I don't have a question. I think you guys do a wonderful job. I just wanted to make a comment, which is, as Denise mentioned, she did join our town and school safety task force that the Board of Selectmen formed this year, and she's been instrumental. Her dissertation was on
school safety.
What exactly was it on? I'm sorry.
My dissertation, it was on school safety and the implementation of Alice.
Okay, so, but she's been so critical in this. Not many Massachusetts communities are addressing this now in the manner that we are. We hired a firm called Guidepost that has done this in other states, so it's kind of new to Massachusetts, but we're really excited about it. We hope you all pay attention to what's going on, because I think it could benefit all of our towns. It's not just schools, mostly schools, but it is our town hall, our senior center, and our library, which are open to the public too. How can we ensure our staff are safe and the public that's in the buildings, and of course our students and administration. So she's been very, very positive to help on that.
Thank you, Jody. Thank you. Anyone else? Any questions? Wow. Anyone else?
I'm just saying, on the way out, everybody, there is a little sample there from the culinary department. They dropped off, I think it's some maple syrup over on the way out. Not for everybody, so make sure you grab on your way out.
So at this time, I will conclude our formal meeting. I am here. If anyone is here and wants to take a brief tour, we can certainly do that. We do have some staff that would be available to do that for you. Just come check in with me before you go. And again, thank you. I'm also willing to come out on the road and visit your select boards, your finance boards, and I'll definitely be at most of your town meetings. Unfortunately, as you know, we have a lot of overlap. So in some cases, we get nervous that we have 3 town meetings at exactly the same time. But if that does happen, you'll see my face at one, you'll see Jean at another, you'll see Matt. We're a team, and we'll make it work. There will be someone there to represent Nashoba Tech. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for all that you do for us and our students. Thank you.